Ticker, yeah.
It is that time. I'm just gonna start off with that. That's how we're gonna. Welcome back to the Fantasy Flyer channel. How's it going, Taylor? How you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. I was trying to find some more information on the combine, but it's just, I mean, it only started what, yesterday, so it's not
Yeah,
too much out there yet, but I'm excited to get all these metrics and, see where guys start shaping up.
you know who's not gonna have a great metric? Jalen Carter.
Mm,
He's not gonna have a great metric at all.
no.
Unless the metric is felonies charged versus plays on the field. That would be a great metric, but I don't think coaches are looking for that. That news came out earlier today. Jalen Carter projected top five pick. Racing and aggravated street racing. I don't think they charged him with like anything murderous or anything like that.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that because it said there was a fatal
Yeah,
aspect. Like,
somebody died from their own
yeah,
car, but it's not like unless there's video that he wrecked them and then they died, then it would be vehicular manslaughter at minimum.
yeah.
But you know, don't do that if you are going to be a famous football player because it's probably not going to work out.
Stop it. Get some help.
Easiest thing said. This episode 45, it's our first like news segment show. We're going to talk about the free agency. We're going to talk about I put it in our show plan as the free agency rodeo. I despise that name. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote it, but that's okay. It will be more of a rodeo. That's a really good way, I think, of putting it. Teams
Battle
have to,
Royale.
yeah, Battle Royale is also a good one. There's going to be some cap casualties. We have started to see them roll in, whether they're actually cap casualties or players just saying, I don't want to be here. It's the same thing. Um, we're going to talk about the free agencies expectations. We're going to go through some expected cap casualties, and then we are going to more or less give a blank ranking, a no ranking to our top five at each position. If that makes any sense. It'll make more sense when we get there. So yeah, we'll just chat about some free agents. The list grows more and more every day at this point. We expected this end of February, March 15th. I thought it was March 1st. It's March 15th is the start of the league year. Teams are picking up usable extra cash to sign free agents that they clamor for. We all know this. It's this portion of the merry-go-round for off season, and it's our time to talk about some of the best options that have or have not been released yet. And then a little bit, we'll place them in order of expected prestige. Prestige being those who should be cherished. So, there's a lot that happened that's not even on my show plan because this is happening so quick. So I have not edited the show plan today. There are new things to talk about. So we'll kind of go into a semi nine segment here and just share a little bit of the thoughts. The biggest one that we have is, well, I guess I'll give you the newest, not the biggest. The newest piece of news is that the Lions and Jamal Williams are expected or interested in a realliance.
Yeah,
Jamal Williams had 16 rushing touchdowns this year,
16
had
or
a
17, yeah.
1,300 yard season, 1,400, 1,200. It was over 1,000. It was a lot. He did well. Um, my first concern with this is what does this do for anyone? DeAndre Swift was not, we assume he was healthy. They said he was healthy. They didn't use him like he was healthy at times. He
Mm.
was the passing down back. You can assume if they're bringing Jamal Williams back, you will see a sort of copy and paste. I think this is a huge hit for from a fantasy point of view for DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, I mean, I think for the team, it certainly makes sense given what we've seen with Swift and his unfortunate injuries. But when that man is healthy, they should be utilizing the crap out of him. I mean, they honestly they need to be smarter about the plays that they design and utilize him in and try to make sure he stays healthy and like use his strength, which is his speed is I mean he's a good catcher. Obviously he can run the ball, but he is a bit of I don't want to say smaller guy, but I do want to say smaller guy when you look at running
Five
backs as a whole.
5'9", 205, I think.
Yeah, and I mean like that's not terrible when it comes to running backs, but
I think I
he's
had that
just
right.
he hasn't held up and so I think yeah, I think this mutual interest from both parties, Jamal Williams and the Lions. Makes sense for the team, but yeah, it's not great if you're a DeAndre Swift dynasty owner.
Yeah, 5'9", 208. I was very close. I haven't looked at that since Madden, so that should just give you a little bit of thumbs up. But yeah, that's one thing that you have to look at is the DeAndre Swift. If they re-sign Jamal Williams, his value is more or less shot. I would say he's not a top in redraft leagues, not a top 8 pick for me. Good bench piece, great handcuff.
Mhm.
Um, but other than that, I don't have much interest in him in many formats. Um, next piece, as I tried, the Bucks released or are releasing. I think they are releasing Leonard Fournette as a March 15th, post March 15th cut, designated as such for the new league year. I'm assuming that's to help out their cap situation. Would make sense.
Probably.
I believe it was 7 million was his cap hit, and I think they're saving most, if not all of that. Great news for Rashad White. This has to make him, especially not knowing who the quarterback. Somebody said Kyle Trask was going to be the starting quarterback. I hope that's a lie.
Yeah.
I just that has to be a great feeling for the Rashad White owner, especially in dynasty leagues. He is going to. He already had a great explosion between game 1 and game 16, and now you can see him taking doubling that leap this year.
Yeah. I mean, him and Pacheco, similar seasons, maybe. I mean, that's just, I guess, going based off of the feel I get from their seasons. I didn't look at the stats or anything, but um, with Fournette out of the way, yeah, White, awesome dynasty snag. We'll see what they do in the draft, whether they grab a third, fourth round running back and how that shakes out. But I think this makes perfect sense for the Bucks. Fournette was kind of a Brady ask. I mean, he honestly he still did fine, but cap wise, yeah, it just doesn't make sense anymore. And yeah, the Trask, I've heard that as well. They got to figure something else out. What we've seen from Trask is not promising.
I would, as much as I have taken a giant steaming deuce about Baker Mayfield, he is a much better option than Kyle Trask. Um, interesting. Also, this was Leonard Fournette asked too. He asked to be released, and it was kind of mutual between teams. So
Yeah, okay.
smart.
Yeah.
I don't know where he fits in anywhere else. Yeah, interesting to see where he goes. He has obviously good experience. I believe he's 28,
Sounds right.
something in that ballpark. Do me a little research while I talk about the next one. Falcons released Marcus Mariota. He was actually part of the FA Rodeo segment, that the Battle Royale. I still hate rodeo. Whatever. $14.5 million cap hit was what he was supposed to make. $2.5 million dead cap, and it saved 12 million to release him, and that's smart for a team that already has the third most space this offseason. So I expect the Falcons to make a splash.
You are
But
correct. He is 28. He turned 28 in January.
I'm on the ball with this, which only makes up for all the times I have not been on the ball with this. Anyway, as far as Atlanta goes, this seems like a conscious decision to move to Desmond Ritter at the very minimum. I mean, they'll have the money to go after somebody, but will a Jimmy G want to go? I mean, I would say Sam Darnold, but the Panthers are working on a contract with him, and I think he's going to want to stay there. Would make sense, like we talked about on our mock draft show, or the pay and play drop and chop show. Is he doesn't really have much. He doesn't have many places if he wants to get paid and start. So this seems like open to shut. You saved the 12 million. Falcons, they already have 56 million prior to this move. Now they have 68 million. They have a top 10 pick. They're probably good suitors. I would hope for more defensive free agents. The amount of defensive free agents are far more exciting to me than offensive free agents right now. What we don't know is who will get cut that we don't think about. So, to do you think the Falcons should stay with Desmond Ridder? I think he's worth a shot, but I would not be surprised with getting a second option somewhere.
Yeah, I I agree with that. I think that he's worth a shot. I think that they have, and granted, this is, kind of a small aspect of the team, but like they have young contracts with good Lord, Pitt and London. Um, and so those are both 4, 5 if you sign the franchise. So what? Pitt's going into his third year, London is second. Try it 1 year with Ritter. If you see promise, then you keep going. If you don't, then you move on. I mean, I don't see them being good enough this season to not come back to a decent, like, top 15 pick,
Well, the hope is for that, but yeah, their ceiling is probably what I'd say at their. I mean, we don't even know how the offseason goes right now. In my opinion, their ceiling next year is like a game above 500, like 9-8.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the way that this division looks, that could put them in the playoffs. That's the scary part.
Right.
That could put them in the playoffs with another top 15 pick. Maybe not top 15. We'll say top 18. Um, but it's very plausible. Interesting to see where they're going to go there. My biggest key for that is probably going to see where they go with the draft. I know March is where free agents start to kind of sign and commit to places. Doing that into April doesn't mean it will happen by the draft. So I feel like if they're going to, it's going to be early because they don't have a backup to Desmond Ridder right now.
Right.
Last one we'll really chit chat about before we actually get into the Battle Royale segment, whatever it is. Kenny Galladay. Finally, the Giants were fed up with him, and they told him to go away. $21.4 million cap hit that has been. They're going to swallow 14.7 of it just to get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're technically saving
7 million for
7
somebody who
million.
was underutilized,
Yeah.
ineffective. I don't want to use the phrase over the hill, but like the hill is so far in the rearview mirror at this point, it seems.
Yeah.
Like really.
Yeah, it's baffling what happened with this man, but just
Okay, let's see here. Toilet paper? Toilet paper?
pretty much.
paper.
But I mean, a quick thought, something I heard elsewhere. What if he went to the Rams, reunited with Stafford? Do you think Stafford could utilize him the way he did? Like, obviously he's older, seems to have lost a lot, but Stafford has a rapport with him.
I'm gonna pull up my very out of date cheat sheet because the stuff's happening so quick that these numbers aren't really that accurate anymore, unfortunately. I think the Rams are right around even on cap. So if you're taking him in for like 2 or 3 million to be the wide receiver like 4, sure. Like I don't whatever. It's a body, someone who can go out and run a route.
Yeah.
That's where my faith in that lies. Other than that, I don't know who's gonna want. He robbed the Giants blind. That's the worst part about it.
I see negative 10 mil for the Rams.
Right, but that's so there's
since things
25 of the 32 teams have done things.
Right.
And I can't,
Yeah. That's what we had prior to this week or whatever.
Yeah,
Before things started happening.
That's accurate as of Sunday. I'm trying to see because over the salary cap, Rams are 14.8 over the salary cap, so it got worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jets are 200,000 over, big deal. Panthers 2.2 over, Chiefs 3.5, Cowboys 7, Browns 13, Rams almost 15, Dolphins 16, Bills 16.5, Chargers 20, Vikings 24.5, Saints 31, Buccaneers 56.5. I will be so surprised if Mike Evans is not traded. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying, because they need to do anything but put Kyle Trask on the field. And he has value to make them pick up a pick. So we'll move on to the actual guts of what we wrote. Cap casualty expectancy. First name on this actually is on a piece of news came out this morning as well. This morning being Wednesday morning. the Chargers and Keenan Allen. The Chargers are expected to keep Keenan Allen, which I don't understand. But I do understand, especially if you're 20 million over the salary cap, and he could save you 15 of that 20 million. I do understand keeping him because he's a talent, and there's got to be some other way in this office that they are thinking we can save some money somewhere. He had 10 games, only played 10 games last year, 66 catches, 752 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns throughout those 10 games. If you were to save $15 million for Keenan Allen, who is 30 years old, I don't understand the excitement about keeping him. If you're going to get that production you can get out of rookie wide receivers in the 3rd round.
Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I think that money-wise, age-wise, it's unfortunately time to part ways. And it always stinks bringing in a young guy. I shouldn't say stinks. It's unfortunate bringing in a young guy and having to build up rapport with the team, the quarterback. And it feels like starting over in a lot of ways, especially for a team that more so last year was very much a contender. I mean, they were a contender this year, but not in the same capacity. They just had too many issues. Anyways, I mean, there's rumors. It says per GM Tom Telesco, Keenan Allen, they aren't planning to move him.
I was
But-
just about to correct myself because does that mean trade? It's very unclear. Does that mean trade or does that mean he's not going anywhere?
I would take it as not going anywhere.
That's what I took it as.
Okay.
I reread it again and I was like, but maybe they're saying aren't as in a trade, which by the way, you aren't trading him. You're right. Because any team who sees that salary cap hit is going to go, I will literally give you a rotten sandwich that's been sitting in my fridge for 4 days for that because it's too much money.
Yeah.
he's an above average wide receiver and a great one when he's on.
Right.
But for that cap money, I'm not going to give you anything because I know you should release him, especially because I know your team is $20 million over the salary cap. So the other thing is if they aren't moving him, period, it means Khalil Mack is like for sure gone. Like it's almost a guarantee because his that's like 8 to 10 million. I think they can save the team. Those two would have actually given them a chance at free agency in the draft to do something other than basically sit on the team the way it is and kind of maybe build some youth somewhere. I think the Chargers are structured enough where you could pick and pull those two pieces, put something else in at those spots, and you still have a chance to get back to the playoffs, which is exactly as far as you made it this past year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, technically, in 9 out of 10 replays of the wild card round, you're not beating for the Jaguars. They're not beating you. You would go further. So I don't know why it was so long for me to just build a sentence in my head. It was awkward silence. But if 9 out of 10 other dimensions that happens, and they're not coming back and winning. So you're going to be a division team that can still get back there with youth. And if you even can keep the cap around 0 next year when the cap goes up, you have more flexibility. It's crazy. Next one, Frank Clark, defensive end. Kansas City Chiefs cap hit is 28.675 million. Dead cap is 6.75 million.
Yeah.
21.5 million. Now there is an option to restructure this contract, and I think it makes sense. Obviously, this turns most of that cap hit into a bonus. Whether it's a roster bonus or a restructure bonus. Could be a little bit of both. It could be some incentive based, either way. If you can erase 15 million of that, we just said the Chiefs are about, a handful, 3, 4, 5, whatever million it was over. Just doing that puts you green on the
Right.
Well, actually, they put you in the black at that point, right? That smart play. I can't see Frank Clark going away from the Chiefs.
Yeah. I don't know that I have much to add beyond that. I mean, they obviously need to strengthen up their secondary. And everybody, and including myself, would say they need another wide receiving option. That being said, we've seen what Mahomes can do with anybody. So maybe they don't.
Well, so here's my thing, right? You're gonna restructure Frank Clark because you need this defense to improve. Mahomes is a Swiss Army knife with any wide receiver out there. What makes you want to re-sign Juju for $10 million a year
Right.
instead of taking, I'll throw out a name, Matt Collins,
Yeah.
or there's also there's also chat about Jalen Ramsey going there, which would involve a trade of similar salaries because both of those teams are over.
Hmm.
So I don't know how that would. I haven't even toyed with that thought because I don't think it's a good idea for either team to. The defense was spry at the end. The Chiefs defense was spry at the end of the year. The Rams defense was not. So let's go ahead and just mix peanut butter. Let's mix oil and water, basically. Yeah, I keep Frank Clark, whatever you have to do. I think the smart thing is to restructure that.
Yeah. Yeah. If they
sure.
can keep their defense as it was at the
Keep the
very
core.
least, yeah, then yeah,
Keep
that's
the
fine.
struggle. Keep the struggle. Third, Minnesota Vikings, who, as I mentioned, they are $24 million over the cap. Three different players that are hugely, really four different players that are hugely, they're large options that could be cut. Dalvin Cook has a $14.1 million cap hit. Dead cap would be 6.2, so that's 8 million. Adam Thielen, $19.9 million cap hit. Dead cap is 13.5. There's another 6.5. Eric Hendricks, 11.4 cap hit, $1.9 million dead cap. So you're looking at almost 10 there, 9.5. Eric Hendricks has to be the first on this list.
Mhm.
After that, I'm not shy about cutting Adam Thielen. He is going to be 31. I think I'm close.
Yeah, 31, 32. I think
One of the
he's,
two.
yeah.
He's going to be up. So KJ Osborne was very serviceable. And again, you have draft picks. Take someone in the fourth round who's a solid wide receiver. Dalvin Cook is interesting because he is an explosive back who's 26, going on 27. He still has a little gas left in the tank, but you have a very young and youthful and explosive Alexander Madison back there just kind of gathering cobwebs.
Yeah, and he had asked, I think the beginning of last season, he wanted to be traded away. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously Cook being the better talent that you want to move forward with, but Madison has shown he can at the very least fill in at times. I don't know. They've seen a lot more, obviously, practice and what have you, but I don't know that I personally have seen enough from Madison to say that I want to move forward with him as the number one running back option for the team. But I mean, Adam Thielen, I like the guy, but I agree. He's currently 32. The beginning of the season, he'll probably be 33. He's August birthday, so
Sorry.
he was okay this year, but I don't think at this point what you're getting from him is worth that money.
And the Vikings have some major holes on defense to fill. Harrison Smith, you want to say no, but they drafted somebody last year to arguably replace him, and they didn't get the chance to see what he can do. Lewis Sign was drafted in the fourth round, third round, fifth round during the draft last year, and he was pegged to be the Harrison Smith replacement going into this year. He tore his Achilles. Can you stat check that for me? He hurt something. He was out for the whole season, preseason, like from preseason on. And I don't know if you can pull the trigger on that so easily.
Compound fracture in his leg
It was leg related.
during week 4.
Oh, it was early in the season.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't think he played any of the season. Interessante. Okay. So, I mean, still, so he plays 3 games. You might get a little taste of him. Are you pulling the trigger on letting Harrison Smith go?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, to your point, you didn't really get to see fully what you have in Sign, which by the way, am I reading this right? He's pick number 32.
Maybe it was that. Maybe it was that early.
Yeah. Um. I mean, again, this is a thing where the team knows a lot more than we do because they saw him preseason, etc.
Saw him pre-draft.
Right. Yeah. I think you kind of have to because your money situation. I
You got
know
to
that.
take the chance.
Yeah, you got to
No, it's
take
not
the
even really a
chance.
chance, but you have to
Right.
put a little more faith on somebody who's less experienced.
Exactly. Yeah, I think money wise, they have to move on. Granted, they had some struggles at defense off and on throughout the season. It was very weird.
I agree. Vikings have to. I think the only debatable one out of those is Dalvin Cook, but again, you have that young, and Madison's not going to stick around if you don't use him this year. I don't
Right.
think. This is going into his third year, and he isn't seeing the field unless Dalvin Cook's injured.
Yeah.
Number 4, Corey Davis, wide receiver for the Jets. This is a slam dunk. Jets $11.16 million payday for Corey Davis. Should they keep him? He is a $666,000 cap hit or dead cap hit. Excuse me. I'm saving $10.5 million. 32 catches on 64 targets, 536 yards, 2 touchdowns. I think he only played 11 games, 10 games, maybe.
Something like that. Yeah.
He was the obvious option number 3 in New York, and I think the obvious answer for the team that needs money is to drop him. Any predictions on where he lands? And this has to mean they're taking another wide receiver, right?
I don't know. They've been doing some weird things with their wide receivers. Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, both at the time that they were drafted. Like Mims, I think was a second rounder. Both seem very talented. Both seem like they were going to be highly used. But Mims is like, I don't even know why he's still on the roster other than the fact that he's cheap, I guess, but they
Right.
don't use him at all. Moore's not happy with how he's being used. They don't need another wide receiver. I feel like they have weapons, but they are using them weirdly. So I'm not really sure. That team has a lot of issues that they shouldn't have.
I think the only issue they really have is a quarterback because this isn't the
Yeah.
worst of your issues. If you can
Right.
get if Elijah Moore is going to stick around and you're keeping Garrett Wilson, I think you draft somebody. Honestly, I don't think you pay anybody. I think you draft late, 4th or 5th.
That's what I was gonna say. If you want to draft somebody after the third and beyond, by all means, don't go crazy in the first 2 rounds for a wide receiver. They don't
Right.
need it.
Especially if one slides to you, it'd be a steal.
Right.
Yeah, like as far as a landing spot for Corey Davis, I see a team that just needs some veteran, and he shouldn't really be a top three option. I think you should have someone who's there who's young and stud worthy, and then the other 2 who are kind of mid tier, and then keep Corey as a 4th option, or at least one other who's mid tier, and maybe Corey as a 3rd if you're really stretching it. But hey, hey, Atlanta,
Yeah.
right?
Or
Um,
Giants, if I mean I don't know.
would you like to go to the other team in New York?
Yeah.
Number 5, Dallas Cowboys. This has been a popular topic, and I totally agree with it. We're not going to dwell on it too much. Zeke, $16.7 million cap hit, dead cap's 11.8. Save the 5 million. He has 1,881 carries, only averaged 3.8 yards per carry last year. He has some mileage on him. Tyron Smith, the left tackle, $17.6 million cap hit, dead cap is 8 million. Save the 9. Right there, you're at 10 million. You can cut a few other people to get to 17 or 20. It doesn't appear like the Cowboys need either of these players. You're probably going to franchise tag Tony Pollard, maybe. That seems to be a rumor as well flying around, although I would try and work out a deal with him.
Yeah, I thought I saw something about them possibly in talks about a deal that quote unquote we're getting close, but maybe I'm misremembering.
Giants and Saquon are moving close to a deal.
That may have been the one I read. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Over a month ago, Zeke said he was interested in coming back, whether or not the other side, the team, wants him back. I mean, if he's coming back, he's going to be massively restructured, and he's just going to be like maybe a 1-2 down back, but a goal line back. He's not the primary guy anymore, and he shouldn't be.
Facts. Last one, and this is the big news that I didn't mention in the 9. I saved it for this. Joe Mixon, running back from Cincinnati. If Cincinnati came out earlier today, more or less, through sources, and said that if the contract restructure isn't agreed to, they will release him. $12.7 million cap hit, $5.5 million dead cap. They can easily release that. Bengals have a good amount of money currently, but have big names that will need extending next year. Jonah Williams, the offensive tackle, T. Higgins, Logan Wilson, all on rookie deals. DJ Reader will also be a free agent. He could be cut this year. He's 15 million cap hit, 4.7 dead cap. I think it's wise for them to start thinking about their money, and they are. Can you give out? They have cap space now. They have over 40 million as it sits right now. Are you extending these guys now and just playing your cards later? Because I think that's the smart move, regardless of Mixon. Wilson, probably Wilson, and I would say Wilson and Higgins take the two biggest, because linebackers and wide receivers are going to demand more money than your offensive tackle.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you can keep Higgins around, him and Jamar Chase have, I mean, we say they're 1A, 1B. At this point, I think it's like Higgins is a very talented, I don't even want to call him a 2, but he's
I know where you're
more or
going.
less, like he's clearly the number 2 on the team, but anywhere else he would be the 1, like
Right.
he's very good, but Jamar Chase is just amazing. But to have both of them, on the same team, Boyd isn't needed. I mean, at times they use him just to kind of, I don't know, mix it up, give the guys a breather, whatever. But yeah, no, I agree. Get Higgins on a deal and keep this train rolling because they are constantly Super Bowl bound.
It should be. The other thing is Joe Burrow needs an extension next year too.
Yeah.
About 6 minutes left, so just real quick, we'll just do priority free agent ranking as it sits right now. I think this is probably something good to come back to later on, or maybe we'll just fly by the seat of our pants because stuff's going to happen too quick. Totally plausible. Quarterback Derek Carr. These are the top 5, no particular order. Derek Carr, Jimmy G, Carson Wentz, Teddy Bridgewater, Marcus Mariota. Any disagreements?
No, I mean, obviously, like you said, we're waiting to hear more. Lamar Jackson would be very high on that list, obviously.
Yeah, number 1.
Yeah, but yeah, nobody else comes to mind at the moment.
Good to me. Running back, Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon, if they were cut, would be the top 2 in this. Saquon, Josh Jacobs, and then it's kind of number 5 is kind of in the air. Rashad Penny, David Montgomery both come to mind. Rashad Penny missed most of the year. Still a really good running back.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other ones that come to mind that would.
Yeah, I mean, Miles Sanders is supposed to be
Yep.
a free agent, so we'll see what happens.
I guess
there.
you could kind of lump Leonard in there.
Yeah.
You could argue.
I mean, just based on youth, I would say, Montgomery and Sanders are about neck and neck for me. Penny, I would put behind them just because of his injury issues.
Makes sense. Wide receivers, if Keenan Allen was to get cut, he'd be number 1. If not, he's off this list. It's probably Jacoby Myers, DJ Chark. I got Mac Hollins, Alan Lazard,
Juju.
Yeah, Juju's in there. And who knows who else is going to get cut. The wide receiver is a volatile spot because of the difference in contracts you get to the later years for dead cap. So this list could be turned on its head 4 times over. Tight ends, I think it's a clear 2-headed horse, and then everything after that kind of funnels down. Evan Ingram and Dalton Schultz, 2 tight ends. After that, Hayden Hurst, Mike Gesicki, Robert Tonyan come to mind. Actually, it's probably really the first 2 tiers, and then there's a large drop off to tier 3, I think. Which is kind of okay because there is a lot of good tight ends in this draft class. So
yeah,
Are you looking up things now?
I was gonna see if Austin Hooper is a
He
free
is.
agent. He is. I don't know that he's definitely not above any of these guys for me, but he's another one that comes to mind that is somewhat relevant.
Defensively, I have Devin Bush and CJ Gardner Johnson as the top two. Devin Bush is 25. It's
Yeah.
kind of impressive. They're going to let him be a free agent as a linebacker. CJ Gardner Johnson is also, I think, 25.
I think so.
So, yeah, like those should be your top two priorities for a lot of these teams that are looking for defensive free agents and can afford them.
Mhm.
Detroit, I'm looking at. Falcons, there's two. Yannick Ngakoue, Javon Hargrave are free agents and probably start the next tier. There's a lot of good. Like I was telling you in the pre-show, I'm more excited about some of the defensive names on this free agency list than offensive names, just because there's more defense that's needed. There's more available.
Yeah, and I think like we were saying, the talent within the defensive pool is much more than the current like wide receiver pool. And like you said, Cook, Saquon haven't been cut yet. So beyond Josh Jacobs, the other guys, I mean, they're not no names, but they're just not the level
Names.
of some. Yeah.
It's fair enough. So just a real quick, a nice one segment, little noteworthy news show. There's going to be more news coming out. Next week starts next week. Next, yes.
The Magic 8.
Friday it starts that. We're recording it Friday. It'll probably come out Monday. The Magic 8-Ball series. I do not recall off the top of my head what two we are starting with. You had AFC, I had NFC. I remember that much.
Yeah, I believe it's AFC
the North and the East. Both Norths and Easts. Because we're only doing two shows, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So we're doing the AFC and the NFC North and the AFC and NFC East each. So complete rebuilds in our heads, going through the team top to bottom, not just the fantasy aspect, but where are the holes? The cheat sheet won't be accurate for caps because of all that's going to change and will endlessly change, but it will be accurate for the positions that we need to fill. So that's good. Because I don't think there's going to be much signs. I think there's going to be more drops that happen. But other than that, going through all four teams, I think it's going to be smart for us to kind of take a very, very, very way too premature guess at who will finish where in the standings and what their record might be, but that's a complete stab in the dark. I don't know if we want to do that. It's a lot. Maybe we'll talk about it. That comes out on Monday. So that's going to wrap up this show, this episode 45. We're creeping towards 50, man. Just getting there, almost there. The last episode 50 is going to be the pre-draft show in April. It's going to be fun. For Derek, that guy over there, his name's Taylor. As usual, listen to some Bob Barker. Have you guys a good weekend. We'll see you next week for the Magic 8-Ball show. Taylor, say your thing. Say the thing.
Peace out, y'all.
Yeah.
Bob Barker reminding you, help control the pet population. Have your pet spayed or neutered. Goodbye, everybody.